Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about M and rem. So previously I discussed about percentage and pixel values. If you don't know that, I'll definitely link that. Today we're going to learn about M and rem. And I feel M and rem are quite popular and important because it will help you for the mobile responsiveness. So here I don't have anything fancy. I have a index.html and a connected style.css. So I have a div with class main, a div with class outer, and a paragraph with class inner, which simply says let us learn em. So in the style.css, I've written something which I'll discuss as soon as I write code on the screen, right? So firstly, what I'll do is I'll go to index.html. I'll just have a quick look. So the inner class is called as inner. So here I'll be using dot inner and I'll just apply a font size of 16 px. And why am I doing this? I'll click on save and I've used the live server. So that is why you can see that there is real-time change. So 16px is the default value. Most of the browsers do have those values. So I just wanted to show you that. So immediately after this, what I'll do is I'll write 1em, okay, and that is equal to 16px in this case. So what do I mean by that? So m is a relative unit. That means it depends on the immediate parent. And in fact, it depends on the font size of the immediate parent. And m values are always calculated as value into base unit. So in this case, it's going to be 1 times base unit, that is going to be 16px, provided the parent has a font size of 16, which will be changed later, but this is the general idea. I hope you got it. So as soon as I do 2 p.m. over here, right, 2 p.m., it's going to be 32 pixel. That is 2 times the base value, which is 16px by default. Okay, so this is the basic idea. Now, to show you something, I'll go over here and I'll type on outer. Okay, and let me just adjust this, get it over here, and I'll just write outer. So outer is the outer class as we know in the index.html. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a font size, font size of 2em. Okay, now things have changed. So what is this going to be? So this is going to be 2 times, that is the value into base unit, that is 16px. So this is going to be 32px in total, right? So this is going to be 32 pixels. I messed it up, I'm sorry for that. So it's going to be 32px, and here it's 2 times em. So what happens? So m always sees the font size of the parent. Okay, depends on the font size. You give padding, you give margin. Of course, we'll talk about padding and margin, but it depends on the font size of the parent. So here what happens? 2 into what is the base unit over here? Base unit is not 16 because the parent is 32. Okay, so it's going to be 32 pixels, and that will be equivalent to 64px. All right, you can see that the font has already increased on the left side. So in order to prove this, what I'll do is I'll remove this 2em and write 60, not 65, 64px, and you can see that it's going to be the same. Okay, so it might be a little confusing, but I get it. I'll also link a doc so that it will help you to know M better. So next thing what I'll do is I'll talk about a little bit about padding. Of course, it's a little bit confusing, but I'll try my best. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this font size, which is there in the inner class. And I am going to say, let's choose a background. So background, let me choose purple. Okay, so we have a purple background, and to tell you that this p tag is a block level element, that is it utilizes the entire space, so I can use margin and padding on that, no problem. So I'll use padding and I'll say 64px for example, and you can see that there is 64px on all sides, right? Okay, now let me give the padding on the basis of m, right? So I'll just remove this outer. I'll just comment it off as of now. I don't want to confuse you. I'll just do 1em. Okay. Now what is 1em? So 1 times the base unit based on the font size of the parent. Okay. So the parent font size we don't have. Just imagine, I'll just remove this. Okay, we don't have anything from the parent. It's 1 into not 32. It's 1 into 16px, and that is equivalent to 16px. Okay, now that is 1 times 16, and that is equal to 16px. Don't believe me? I'll just change it to 16px. It's going to be the same. Our parent does not have anything, so it's going to take the font size from the root. So that is why it is 16. So browsers do have 16px by default. Of course, you can change. I'll talk about that in a while. Okay, so this is 1em. So what is next? So again, I'll introduce the uh, outer, and that is going to be, I'll just say font size, because it depends on the font size, as I said. So font size is going to be, let's make math a little bit easier for us. Okay, 3 times E. So what is this going to be? So this is going to be base value 3 times 16px, and that is equal to 48, right? So here it is 1 em, so that is going to be 48, correct? So this is going to be 48px, not 448. I'm sorry for that. That's 48px. The moment I do, let's say 3em, this is going to be not 3 times 16, it's going to be 3 times 48. Okay, so it's going to be 3 times 48 pixels, and I don't know what is 3 times 48 pixels, so 8 into 4, and that is going to be 144px, right? So the padding is 144px because it depends on the parent. Now let's take it a step ahead, a step further, and let's go beyond. Okay, a little bit. So we know that the outer one has a parent called as main. All right. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to say dot main, and I'm going to say font size of 16px. 16px, not pz. 16px. Okay, is it really going to matter? It's not going to matter. What if I make it 48px? Now it's a problem, right? Because I said that 3em is 3 times its parent font size. That's 3 times for it. It's a complex calculation, but just I wanted to give you an idea. So let's make it 1em. Oh, so this is going to be 1 times 16 because our root or the browser has 16px. So to summarize, um, it's quite complicated, but I'll put it in simple terms that M is a relative unit that it depends on its parent, and not only its parent, it depends on the font size of the parent. Okay, font size of the immediate parent, and based on that, it'll get its padding or font size. So just I'm going to recall. So 1em is going to be 1 times 16 because our browser has 16px, right? What if I make this 2em? Okay, it's going to be 2 times 16. So here it's going to be 32px, right? So here it's going to be 3 times 32px. Sorry, 32. So it's going to be 3 times 32px. So it's going to be 92px in total, right? This is going to be 92px. And here, what is going to be padding or whatever margin padding you give, it's going to depend on the font size of the parent. Okay, it's going to be 3 times 92px, 92px, and 3 times 92 is 92 times 3. Uh, it's going to be 276, right? It's going to be 276px, right? So padding is, let me try 276px. It is 276px. So this is about EM. I'll definitely link doc, and also you can text me and ask doubts if you have any.